Now, Hell Let Loose does not often do a big tank update. When you think about tanks, they can be quite derpy, or you can have very derpy moments with them. Now with update 18, we're gonna see a lot of change when it comes to tanking, because Team 17 is doing changes. Each tank has received individual rework. That means that each tank will be a bit more unique with its own strengths and weaknesses that will bring to the fight. You know, they all have their individual stats. You're gonna also see much more light and medium tanks on maps, and far less often a heavy tank. Stick around. So tanks have now 3 stat groups, one of them being, for example, the offensive stat group, the muzzle velocity, shell drop-off distance, the reload time, the damage output for AP and HE, the depression and elevation angles, and the power of the coaxial MG. They can all change these individual bits to make every tank slightly different than the other. What they're also gonna change is the tank traversal, as in moving around will be much better. You have enhanced hit detection, impact on objects, better overall traversal over trenches, so you won't get stuck on trenches all the time like some people do. Good God, that is a sad sight always. And especially it's always a pain for new players that don't know, that they normally can't go over those trenches most often. What tanks will also bring is condition-specific behavior. What is that? Well, in certain conditions it's gonna have one specific behavior. So tanks will react dynamically depending on what they are driving/standing on, aka muddy ground, urban streets, open fields. This means you're gonna be much faster on roads, while if you're in the mud or somewhere off-road, you will be much slower. I like this a lot. I've already seen this, and it's crazy how fast tanks are on roads. If they actually have roadwork, they're so fast. It's amazing. Now, a really big one. Tanks can now also be modified during combat. And how do they get that? Well, they get it from the new Tinkerer loadout that the crewman gets. I have a separate video for that one. That's a very short video, but you should check it out. It covers all the things about the new Tinkerer loadout for the crewman. We will see how that one works out, but yeah, able to modify tanks to your personal custom decisions. We will see if that one is good, popular, etc. Back in the day, when we started Hell Let Loose, Black Metal times, one of the iconic sentences was that when there's a tiger on the map appearing, that should be a rare sight, a nightmare of steel that changes the overall battle in Hell Let Loose. And nowadays, you see sometimes 4, even 5 heavy tanks like tigers rolling around, and it's just a common sight to see a tiger roll around or a panther. It's not really that impactful, is it? Now with update 18, heavy tanks are gonna be big, high-impact game changers instead of those mass-produced slop units. And you wonder why? Well, because spawning of heavy tanks will have an increased cooldown. Because spawning in heavy tanks will take some time. Spawning in heavy tanks will change dramatically now, with the timer only beginning after the heavy tank was destroyed, not when it was deployed. Because normally, when you're a commander, you spawn in a tank, and the very second you have the tank spawned in, there's gonna be a cooldown. Now, heavy tanks, on the other hand, are gonna not have that cooldown instantly when you spawn them. They only get that cooldown when they are destroyed. So if you lose your 2 heavy tanks, that will mean that you then have a cooldown, and you might not have heavy tanks at that time. So heavy tanks need to get handed out much more careful to crews, not just shelled out to everybody. This is an extreme change of the tank meta and Hell Let Loose overall. This will still get changed depending on feedback by the community. I kinda like it, but then again, I'm not a big tanker, so we will see in the practice how this works out. You need to respond to this, people. And at the very end, we have one more big info reveal, and that is future Armour additions. And it will be self-propelled artillery vehicles. Now that one is gonna open up quite a discussion, I would assume, because the issue was, 3 artillery pieces, that is just breaking Hell Let Loose. Now there will be squads of 2 to take artillery on a mobile spin. I am actually curious very much on the feedback of the community. Do you think this is gonna break Hell Let Loose completely and be an absolute setback, or do you think this is gonna be amazing? Everybody's gonna love this. And as the last thing, what they also mentioned is that there will be a rework of the tank audio, so some of the audio quality will change over time, and in update 18 we will have very different audio.